Let's see, who was here? Jeez. Dwayne? It's now time to call our meeting to order, and certainly welcome each and every one of you here. I'm glad that you've come to our meeting, and would like to remind you to silence your cell phones. And however, if it does ring, if you go into the corridor and do your business and then come back, that would be fine. And without further interruption now, I would like to ask Commissioner Connor if he will give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for the day that you've given us, Lord. Thank you for a place to come to, Lord, and work on our business for this county, Lord. Let we do the best we can, Lord, with your guidance in front of us, Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, as we go in tomorrow and many more days, I ask you to put your hedge of protection around our first responders, law enforcement, men and women overseas, Lord. I ask you to put your blanket of protection on them and bring them home again to their families. Dear Father, Lord, as we go into many more tomorrows and sights unseen, Lord, I ask that we just put everything on you, Lord, that you lead and guide us. Everything we do be an emblem of you. In God's name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, next we'll have the roll call by Ms. Missy White.
I, Venus Mincy White, present as Clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman Roy Thompson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Kurt Deal.
Aye.
Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Jappy Stringer.
Aye.
Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
And Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
I have determined that we have all members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bulloch County. I now yield the floor back to the chairman.
Thank you very much. And I was looking, Dwayne, we're glad to have you here tonight and always do a super job. I think that's the only one here that's with the media at the present time. And if not, if you would stand up and introduce yourself, I would appreciate it. All right, we're going to move right along, and we have a presentation. I wanted to ask you a question, a little bit out of the ordinary, but how many of you visit Mill Creek Park or Splash in the Borough? Okay, we have a good many that does that. Last meeting, we had some comments that was made about Splash in the Borough as being filthy, and so I've called in. And this is for me. I frequent out there quite a bit. They don't even know that I'm out there sometimes, but it's just wondering if some folks have seen something that I have not. So I've called the aquatics director, Mr. Alex Estrada, and the parks maintenance manager, is Tony, and I've asked them to come up and give a presentation tonight Presentations last 15 minutes, and we'll go set the clock just like we would anyone else. And I tell you, we'll do it one at a time. Who wants to start? Okay, all right. If you'll step on up, I want to try something. We've not tried this before because I do get some complaints about people. The only thing people can see is the back of your head.
That's right.
I want you to turn around and just see if you can get right behind it if you want to, or out there, whatever you want to do so they can see you.
We're good with this?
Yes, sir.
Tenfold. Splashing the burrow, it's a big feat to control and manage and task, especially with 300 employees part-time, most of them high schoolers, 16, 17-year-olds. We have to spend from now till opening day training them. Nothing's perfect. We run a pretty hard itinerary as far as what is to be done. The day starts at 6 a.m. with the manager being the maintenance supervisor or maintenance tech going out, walking the park, turning the pumps on, make sure they all turn on, make sure the water's mixed. You can't check chemicals for the health department and all that good stuff until the water's been mixed for at least an hour. They see what spots need to be done, what concession stands need cleaning. Steps get pressure washed every day because it's trip and slip hazards. They clean strainer baskets in the morning. So when the regular employees, 4 to 5 or 6 man shift, depending on the day of the week and how busy it normally is, those kids clean strainer baskets. They blow the parking lot off. Any spots that were missed and the supervisor sees, he goes out, hands out duties to 4 to 6 man team and tells them, hey, pressure wash here, pressure wash there, clean here. At 9 a.m., they're unlocking restrooms, sanitizing them. They were cleaned the night before, just in case. They looked again, they sanitize them again. We unlock them so that anybody just can't run in there, destroy the restroom overnight or anything crazy like that. On average, we try to vacuum 2 to 3 pools as needed. Some days none of them are needed. Some days all of them are needed. After about an hour of the water mixing, we check chemicals. We add chemicals and get everything perfect for the health department and our standards. We unlock the restrooms, all of them, make sure they're open, prop the doors open for safety, just in case nobody tries to lock themselves in there. From 10, once we open, we immediately start walking the park, looking in the rocks, taking out trash as needed. Like when someone's by their chair and see trash, we'll see it blowing like an obviously empty cup. We'll do things like that. Pick up life vests as we go. We'll scrub spills like ice cream, Coca-Cola, anything like that throughout the day. We're not perfect. There are things that happen. Like say we're keeping the schedule going and we have let's call it a bodily mishap in a pool. It takes the whole team to guard that pool so no one goes in it until we get everything out, make sure the chemicals are standard for the health department. Then we have to wait the allotted time, 20 to 30 minutes, and we have to guard that pool. Many times, before we're finished with that, another pool has the same situation, and we have to run. So the schedule is tampered with, and it's not perfect. But for the most part, we strive for perfection. At the end of the night, when an hour to close, we already start spot cleaning. We take buckets of chlorinated water straight out the pool, put it on ice cream spots, scrub them, so that the morning crew doesn't have so much to pressure wash. The deck is rinsed with the chlorinated water so that we have less flies, bees, and such and so forth in the morning. We respond to any incidences. If there is a person that's about to pass out, maintenance is the number one person. They're just free. You can't call a lifeguard off stand to go help them. Maintenance is the first ones to go. And that's basically us in a nutshell.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Good evening. My name's Tony Morgan. I'm the Parks Division Manager for the Recreation Department. I've been here for 23 years, been the manager for the last 13 years. We have 20 full-time positions. We utilize anywhere from 10 to 25 seasonal throughout the year as well. In addition to that, some of our full-time employees are trained through the Bulloch County Correctional Institute, so we can pick up some detainees, and we utilize those as well, and is a huge help. The facilities we maintain, it covers about 250 acres. The parks are Brooklet, Stilson, Nevels, Fair Road, the Whittemore, Grady Street, Mill Creek, our disc golf course, Fletcher Park, and the S&S Greenway with the 2 trailheads. We also oversee and maintain 54 of the county's other facilities, all the voting precincts, fire departments, EMS, North Main Annex here, magistrate, courthouse, anything that the county owns, we are overseeing the maintenance on the grounds. As far as our daily routines go, we have a crew that goes out to every park every day. They pick up trash, empty trash cans, blow off sidewalks or pavilions. Restrooms that are on site, they're cleaned daily. Some of them are cleaned twice a day. If we have a lot of visitors, say at Mill Creek, sometimes we go to more, and some of the trailheads, they may get hit twice. For the weekends, somebody comes in on the weekends and cleans the restrooms as well. We'll, as the weather warms up and we have a lot of people coming to the parks, we'll have somebody picking up trash and emptying trash cans as well. A lot of that is driven around our pavilion rentals, because we have a lot of pavilion rentals on the weekends. We have over 154,000 square feet of landscape beds in the county that we have to maintain, putting out pine straw, trimming shrubs, weeding. So we have a lot of beds we have to maintain. We have 7 playgrounds around the county. We have 2 certified playground inspectors that can go around and inspect our playgrounds. So we try to keep them as safe as we can. On all of our parks, we have a total of 22 baseball, softball fields. There's 6 fields that are designated just for soccer. There's multiple soccer fields on those soccer fields, but football, we'll play in the outfields of the football, but all the fields we maintain. So we mow, fertilize, spray, keep them nice for everybody to use. Whenever you get looking at the maintenance of it, we'll laser grade all the clay infields to make sure we don't have any potholes where we're holding water. We prep for games and tournament play. Whenever you start looking at chalking lines and painting lines, just whenever we paint the lines for baseball fields for a single year, we'll paint 15 miles of lines just throughout the year. Whenever you start looking at soccer for the spring and soccer in the fall and fall football, there's a lot of lines that got to be painted. We'll paint 155 miles worth of lines whenever we start painting throughout the year. We got a lot of walking that we do. Special events, we have Arts Fest, 4th of July, Trick or Treat, events like that. We're the ones behind the scene where they're getting the event ready. We're putting tables and chairs out, tents, stage, anything that needs to be set up, setting out trash cans. During the event, we're picking up the trash, and after the event, we're getting everything cleaned up and taken off. With the number of talented employees we have, we do a lot of projects in-house as well that saves the county a lot of money. Anytime we have the county builds a new facility, we get called to landscape and irrigate it. If there's plans, then we'll go off the plans. If not, then we'll design the landscape, design the irrigation, and install it ourselves. We do other things. Right now, we're putting some drainage on some of the ball fields. They drain very poorly, so we've been installing some drainage, which has improved our playability. I can't stand before you and say that we don't have struggles. We're not perfect, but we do struggle, and one of our struggles is with employees. We're having a hard time retaining employees right now, full-time employees. Currently have 4 open positions. We have 2 out on leave, so we're 6 people down right now. But we're going to continue to do what we can, and we're going to keep the park safe and clean. But I appreciate you giving me the time to come talk about it and tell you what we do a little bit. So, thank you.
Thanks to both of y'all for coming tonight. I just wanted y'all to share just what a big job that is out there. And so we're going to move along now, and we need to approval of the zoning agenda. Need a motion.
Second.
Have a motion, second discussion. None. All those in favor, show of hands. Okay, the zoning agenda is now approved, so begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item number 1 tonight is a conditional use request by Brian Reddick, who is seeking to allow a facility to host a private and public function event venue. This property is located at 10143 Highway 80 East. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use request with some conditions, and then Planning and Zoning Commission recommends approval with those conditions by a 3-0 vote. The parcel is just over 15 acres. This is the approximate location overlaid with the county map there along Highway 80. This is the parcel and the zoning map. Again, there are some, I guess, nearby commercial or industrial properties already zoned in the area. However, the conditional use would not change the underlying zoning for the property. It would just be that that use would be granted. This is the site plan that was provided by the applicant, in which it would have to be modified a little bit based on the conditions, assuming that if this were approved with the conditions, the traffic flow would change a little bit. It would not be quite so close to the property line. But the wedding venue would sit approximate to the middle of the parcel. And then the owner has stated that their intention is that they would live on the property as well, so. And this is the entrance to the property. Again, it's along Highway 80. So. And with that, I'll ask Mr. Reddick if he can approach the podium for questions. Well, I'm not seeing Mr. Reddick, so I'm not, however y'all want to proceed, but if Mr. Reddick is not here, then he was notified of the meeting, so I don't know why he's not here.
Of course, the commissioners are the ones that will make this decision. Normally, if it's not represented, we normally turn it down. But
Is anybody signed up against it?
No. There's no one signed up.
You want to defer it to another meeting?
Or- or we can defer it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to defer it just in case we had a misunderstanding about the date or the time. Being nobody's for it or against it, maybe we can just defer it to the next meeting.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion. That motion was seconded. Any additional questions?
Next evening meeting, will be fine.
Next evening
Yes,
meeting.
next evening meeting.
Okay. There's no further questions, and all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. This item is deferred until the next evening meeting. And I would highly recommend that he or someone be here next time.
Yes, sir, and I do know that we had email confirmation from him, but again, I haven't heard anything from him today, so.
And we know it's not your fault that he's not here. All right.
All right,
moving
so
on.
moving on to agenda item number 2. Mira Investments LLC has submitted a request for a conditional use of operating a liquor store. The proposed location is 8741 US Highway 301 South, and Ms. Nikki Green will be acting as agent. The staff recommends approval of the conditional use request, and then the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by 3-0 vote. All right, as I'll go over this, as you can see in your staff report also for the commissioners, but the location is on 301 South, located, again, right off of 301. This is proposed to go into an existing building. There's a design building that has a convenience store on one side and two additional tenant locations, and I believe this one would be on the far left side of the building. The zoning is highway commercial as well as the surrounding zoning as the commercial use. And this is just an aerial of the property. As you can see, they have ample parking for the facility or the proposed use of liquor store. And then signage would be basically the same as what is there, just a building sign. And again, commercial uses surround the property. So, with that, I'll ask Ms. Green if you could approach the podium.
Hello. I'm Nikki Green.
You have anything to say, or?
I believe it's pretty much been explained what we're gonna be doing. The intention is to, employ about 5 to 8 people, part-time, full-time at the location. And one thing that I wrote when I was filling out the paperwork is that in some ways I feel like this side of town has kind of been overlooked a little bit. We have a lot of things going on in other sides of town, so just hoping to kind of bring some commerce to that side of town. It's a little bit industrial, so hopefully give some people some options.
Okay. Any questions? And hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Now, any more discussion or questions? Then, all in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any other discussion or modifications desired by the county manager or the board?
Will the county manager will the chairman yield the floor to the county manager?
Yes, sir.
The staff would like to make one modification tonight out of public necessity and for the good of the citizens of the county. We would ask that to add an item on an executive session to include personnel in addition to real estate. Therefore, yield the floor back to the chairman unless there's any questions.
Okay. Anything else? If not, then I'll ask for a motion with the change.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Have a motion, second, discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Next, I will have 12 items to read on the consent agenda. And if you would listen, I'll read each one of them. One is to approve the minutes from the February 20th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. 2 is approve the corrected minutes from the July the 5th, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting. 3 is approve a resolution approving the location of a paving project for Lee Road. 4, approve the authorization to send notices of non-renewal to certain employee health plan vendors. 5 is approve the appointment of Adam Bath to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term of 3 years, ending December 31, 2026. 6, approve a resolution to authorize the sale of real property and to enter into a real estate sales contract regarding the same. 7 is approve a lease agreement between Statesboro Bulloch County Airport and Southeast Avionics LLC and Jeremy Hill. 8, approve a polling place agreement with the mayor and council of the city of Statesboro. 9, approve an intergovernmental agreement for animal control and municipal court services with the city of Statesboro. 10, approve the acceptance of Allen Smith Consulting to provide preparation and administration services for an employment incentive program called the EIP grant application. 11, approve the acceptance of Turnip Seed Engineers to provide the preliminary engineering report, design, and construction services for an employment incentive program grant application. 12, approve a special event permit for Statesboro Ducks Unlimited to host a nonprofit event at Ageechee Technical College, 20 Joe Kennedy Boulevard on March 28, 2024, from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. We can vote on these collectively, or if we need to move anything to new business, we certainly will. Having said that, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote on these collectively.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Under new business, the Chief Financial Officer, Christy King, is going to share with us to approve a federally funded subaward agreement with Bryan County in the amount of $7.5 million of coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds.
Good evening, everyone. So you will recall back in 2022, the county entered into an agreement with the other three counties in the Joint Development Authority, Bryan, Chatham, and Effingham counties, for a revenue sharing agreement to share in the tax revenues generated by the mega site. In order to participate in that revenue sharing, all four counties had to put up some money towards the initial infrastructure. According to that agreement, Bulloch County's share is $7.5 million. We have discussed several different options for funding that and decided that if we use some of the money that we got from the state and local fiscal recovery funds under the American Rescue Plan, that will prevent us from having to use any kind of taxpayer funding to give this money to Bryan County to get the infrastructure for the water in place. This is an approved project under that federal law, so it already falls under the legally approved projects. You do not have to use that money on a project solely for Bulloch County. It can be used for regional projects, so we feel like this is a good source of funding. And this agreement is really not about the amount of money or what it's going towards. It's about the funding source. Just because this is federal money and we are required to report on it to the U.S. Treasury, we need to have an agreement with Bryan County that they also understand that and will report to us what we need to know to monitor the use of our federal funds. Under the revenue sharing agreement, we are supposed to, we believe that we will recoup our entire investment of this $7.5 million by 2030. And then the revenue sharing agreement continues through 2048. So we will continue to receive money from this agreement. Does anyone have any questions?
Ms. King, can you give a kind of a guesstimate about the earnings we'd get back? I know you can't get it dead on the money, but for the $7.5 million investment, what will be the return on it?
I don't know that I even have totals on it. Isn't it, Tom, do you remember? I was more focused on the amount going in and when we would get it back, but I don't remember the totals.
The revenue sharing agreement?
Right, yes, what they're estimating we would get back.
I believe Bulloch County was to receive a little over $38 million over 25 years.
Okay. I was thinking it was between 30 and 50, but I couldn't remember.
I had heard around 40. I just wanted to make sure that I was pretty close.
Yes.
And then it should be noted that those payments won't begin until 2028, just for the record.
Right. Yeah, so it won't be immediate, but it's projected that we would receive our 7.5 million back in 28, 29, and 30.
I think these costs will be recovered upfront or back end pretty quickly.
Yes.
Any additional questions? Then hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we enter into this agreement with Bryan County. Second.
Motion, second. Any additional discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next will be public comments, and this time I'll recognize those citizens who've signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, come to the podium, and you have 5 minutes, and we will have the clock on you, and to share with us what you would like to say. And tonight we have 7 people signed up to speak. If you'll call the first one, please.
Lawton Sack.
Mr. Chairman, before I begin this evening, I would like to request if you would allow it for the clock to be turned off.
No, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I've come to you this evening with a broken heart as a 47-year citizen of Bulloch County and somebody that's known yourself for my entire life. I have grave concerns about the leadership in Bulloch County. As someone that has dedicated his life to serving the citizens of this county, of working with the homeless, of increasing literacy here, of preaching in the churches here and surrounding counties, I never in my life thought I would ever experience the things that I've experienced over the last 13 months. It culminated last night with a sheriff deputy coming to my house at 10 o'clock at night and being served with a warrant and being called to a hearing for using my First Amendment rights. Over the last 13 months, you've encouraged us to be a part of our local government. You've encouraged us to speak. You've encouraged us to ask questions. You've encouraged us to speak to our commissioners, and I've continued to do that. You yourself have been very open. You and I have had a lot of conversations together over these last 13 months, even when we disagreed. I appreciate you being a gentleman to me. But I tell you, when the voices of citizens for using their First Amendment rights end up with the threat of arrest, when there's a deputy that comes to your house for speaking to a commissioner, there's something wrong in Bulloch County. A citizen has a right to speak up and to be heard, even when the commissioners disagree. I've shown a lot of restraint, a lot of respect in these meetings. I've worked with just about all the staff in this county, and I've shown them the exact same respect. I've never come in here and I raised my voice. I've always had civil conversations. The organization I'm involved with have been kicked out of 3 different locations because of phone calls made by certain commissioners. This is the United States. This is a place where we have rights. I don't like spending my time talking with attorneys. I don't like talking about suing my own government. I don't like being kicked out of First Friday. I don't like going through all these things because I choose to use my voice. One of the greatest protections we have is being able to say what we need to say without these things happening. I was told not to come to the meeting here tonight by the deputy and by the sheriff. That's not how things operate in Bulloch County. And yet they're being accepted. Mr. Chairman, I know where your heart is. I know that you ran to serve this county and that you've given much back to it. And I've done the same. I've put my name on the ballot. I've served to stand up and speak for those that were afraid to speak for themselves. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to continue to do it. And it doesn't matter who tells me don't come here anymore, to shut up, to keep my seat. And even if I keep being threatened, and yes, I have the audio from that meeting, and I was threatened, and I'll play it for the magistrate judge. And they'll see that in no time did I ever raise my voice to the commissioner. We've got to be able to speak or this government's going to fall. We've got to be able to speak or people are going to go around and get angry. We should never, ever be afraid to be able to use our voice, to speak up, to send an email, to send a text, to make a phone call, and be afraid of some kind of reprisal. And I know, Chairman Thompson, that you believe the same. And I believe you have a responsibility to protect this county as long as you're a chairman here, and to do what is right for the people of Bulloch County. Thank you.
Lynn Fatika.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chairperson, Tom, Mincy. I'm coming before you tonight on behalf of the residents that live off of Josh Deal Road. They have a real concern of what is about to happen with the detour signs and the way the detour is going to run between Harville Road and 67. First of all, Josh Deal Road was not built to handle that additional traffic. The more important thing we are concerned about is already Josh Deal Road, unfortunately, is a little mini speedway of 1.8 miles, where they speed from coming off of 67 all the way over to Harville Road and vice versa. You have people who ride their golf carts, you have kids on ATVs. You know, when I moved in to Josh Deal Road 5 years ago, there are 3 subdivisions. There's currently 6, with the 7th, Mayberry, coming very soon. That is additional traffic. I did have a conversation with the planning, with Brad here for traffic. Something is going to need to be done on 67. And I understand from him, this is an ODOT project. You're going to need a light, you're going to need some kind of traffic mitigation, otherwise you're going to have traffic backed up. When people are in a hurry to go to work or come home, they're going to take undue risk to try to beat that traffic. There's going to be accidents. There's going to be sooner or later fatality there on 67 or on Harville Road. There was already a serious accident last year on Harville Road where the county then put in the rumble strips at the stop sign. So my ask of you all is to please take a serious look at that road and figure out how we can mitigate the traffic that is going to be put on it for that 90-day period while that roundabout is constructed on Harville and Langston Chapel. And if any of you would like to come out to the house, talk to me, be more than happy to meet with you. Thank you very much.
Tim Powell.
Hello again. Believe it or not, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the meeting last week that all of you were there, and a lot of the staff was there. I thought it was very informative. I had my doubts that it would ever come together because of the scope of work that EPD is usually involved in, but y'all made it happen, and I appreciate it. I got a lot of information out of it. And I hope y'all did too. So I brought with me, rather than a bunch of stuff I usually write down, I just brought their proposed draft special conditions. And I did ask one question of, I believe it was Mr. Frechette that was talking at the time. Some of y'all may have left by then, I don't know. But it was the only question that he couldn't answer. And that question had to do with us being responsible for getting surface water to replace the well water that they're going to hope they will be using if this permit is approved. And I don't really understand what we have to do with getting surface water to this project down there. We don't have anywhere to get surface water from. We don't, I think the Ogeechee flow is so low in the summertime that would be out of the question, and they wouldn't want to pump it from up in our county down there anyway. So it would have to be Savannah River, and last time I checked, we don't touch the Savannah River. So I don't understand what responsibility we have for planning out their surface water needs over the next 25 years, which is too long to start with, but this is going to require some expense. I can already see, because of the reports that we have to hand in, or the commission at the time, as we go through the years, we'll have to hand in to EPD, and the initial report within 1 year, I can see tens of thousands of dollars being paid out to consultants to figure these things out. And, we just don't have that money. And I don't think we should be burdened with having to come up with that money. So that was my main concern. There's a lot of wills. A joint county, Bryan County, Bulloch County municipal managed fund will be created by the permitted counties, which may include industrial money. We can't put any money in this. We don't have money for this, especially taxpayer money. This needs to come from whoever's using the water. If you have a well problem, you have to have a permitted by local health department's well. None of our wells are permitted by the local health department. So if they stick to that standard, if somebody does have a problem with their well, they won't be eligible for any of this help from the fund. So why have a fund if nobody's got a permitted well? We don't do permitted wells. If an EPD-approved party conducts an independent investigation, and, that you got a problem with your well, these options may include methods proposed using best management practice of, all of these things need to have more detail than just these broad terms. And they're going to lay this on us, and if this is our permit, then we will be responsible for whatever's in the permit, which will be these conditions. So these conditions, I think I would suggest that each one of you, I think tomorrow's the deadline for comment period, but I would comment as a commissioner to the EPD through email that how you think these things ought to be worded so that our county doesn't get, saddled with high expenses and other conditions that we can't meet. And I'll stop there. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Frank Davis.
Let's see if we can make this work. We're going to try to project it from here. We did it right before the meeting. It worked, and I think we are good to go. Good evening, Chairman Thompson, Commissioners, Mr. Couch. My mission tonight, over the last few months, there's been a significant amount of frustration around Bulloch County exporting water to the Hyundai mega site. But I think a lot of this frustration appears to be based on the fear of the unknown. And my mission tonight is hopefully to try to make the complex more simple. Everybody's familiar with the request for the 4 high-volume wells going down to the mega site. This is the largest project ever for the state of Georgia. This is Governor Kemp's landmark legislation. Huge amount of money involved here. Okay? To say that there's significant momentum, it would be somewhat of an understatement here. I need to digress for just a second here. Would like to compare zoning requirements for county-level projects versus mega plants. Over here, I have Mr. James Polk, who is our zoning project manager, and he has a check sheet for all the rezoning requests. He has a check sheet, and if you don't check all the boxes, things don't happen. But there's a mission, there's a purpose for that. You want to have growth in an orderly, responsible fashion, prevents chaos. For mega plants, the rules a lot of times are somewhat reversed, and it's interesting that they would be. You incentivize companies to come build on your site, and often are offered a significant amount of incentive package. However, the infrastructure and then is built around the project requirement. So it's kind of the reverse order. It's kind of interesting that the lack of order of operation has caused a significant amount of frustration in this case. A quick review. Surface water, optimal long-term solution. However, 15 to 25 years off. This option won't meet the timeline of them starting production, I understand, in the fourth quarter of this year. Groundwater, Bulloch and Liberty County are in the yellow zone. Groundwater withdrawal is restricted. That's a no-go. Bulloch County, closest source of green water, tag, you're hit. You might think that the water would have been sourced maybe before the commitment was finalized, or at least before construction began, but that's not the way it always happens, and you kind of got to roll with what you got. At the meeting last Monday night, it was very interesting. The science, unfortunately, was significantly overshadowed by attendee emotion and passion. Somewhat of a, very informative, but somewhat of a chaotic presentation. And I'm going to give you the exact science on that. Before I do that, we talk about 4 high-volume wells. How much water is that? How big is this bucket? I'm going to answer that. Equivalent to 4 irrigation pivot systems of the length of 7 towers, something that would irrigate approximately 120 or 130 acres. Okay, that's how big the bucket. Not insignificant, but very doable for our county. We have pivots throughout the county, and they don't seem to cause any significant problems. Here's the science from Christine Vody. No risk of saltwater intrusion. No risk of wells that are set in the superficial aquifer. No new wells need to be drilled. The impact There will be a groundwater drawdown in the center of the zone depression, 19 feet. And at 5 miles out, that goes down to 10 feet, which is felt to be kind of the place where it is not impactful. Some wells will need to be reset lower, and but we'll have to wait and see. But the bottom line is there's a mitigation plan that's being worked on, and I think I've heard there is some progress, very positive progress, on the mitigation plan. EPD felt that the impact was acceptable and could be reasonably managed. And essentially, 3 weeks before this, there was a professor from Georgia Southern University. Is that 5 minutes, or did we start? Should I say one more thing here? And I'll finish in 30 seconds. I just feel like it's important that we support the county commissioners on this project to negotiate the best possible deal. Their hearts and their mission appear to be in the right place, directionally correct. I, for one, trust that they will do the right thing. They just need time and our support to broker the best possible deal so that we can make this project work for the Bulloch County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bill Emley.
Good evening. My name is Bill Emley, and my address is 9018 Oakfield Drive here in Statesboro, Georgia. Commissioners, Chairman, General Manager, distinguished staff, and distinguished guests. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Thompson personally. The other day, calling me and discussing what my issues were, as we would say in the Navy, bravo Zulu, well done. I really appreciate it, and my wife appreciated that you took the time to reach out and help me to understand better the issues at hand. The Bulloch County Commissioners, the General Manager, and Commissioners and Development Authority have continuously and consistently demonstrated their errors in judgment in carrying out desires and wishes of themselves vice the citizens of Bulloch County which elected them to their office. You clearly have demonstrated that by a 6-0 vote of passing the tax hikes. Over 300 people came in front of you, voicing their opinion, their objections, and their facts. And the very next day, approximately 30-some minutes into your meeting, you passed the budget with a tax increase. Don't know how you can do that, but you did that. The other day when we had the Hyundai well water EPD meeting, it was a very good meeting. The scientists were there, the geologists were there. The people that were there were Bulloch County residents and other residents. The entity that wasn't there was the Bulloch County Commissioners. Yes, some Bulloch County Commissioners were sitting in the audience, but not one Bulloch County Commissioner addressed the audience. So who asked the EPD to come and speak to the Bulloch County citizens and to help them understand what this endeavor is all about? It wasn't the EPD. They were there at the request of somebody to address us. But the somebody who asked them to come was not present. There were numerous and countless questions that were being asked from the audience that were really not the EPD's area of expertise. They were Bulloch County questions and questions that the commissioners should have been able to answer. But again, they weren't there hosting it or presenting this as a Bulloch County event. It was the EPD. When I looked at the Regional Water Coastal Plan of Georgia dated June 23rd, It states, this is the EPD's report. It states right in the report, the results of the CSI model, which Christine, the geologist, presented to us. It states that it indicates that up to 34.9 million gallons per day could be drawn from the Florida aquifer in the yellow zone. So that means this well could be drilled in Bryant County. If that well is drilled in Bryant County, Bulloch County, I do believe, would lose millions of dollars of valuable revenue that we could be using for essential services. When we look at the budgets and we look at what you approve, what we as citizens of Bulloch County are constantly seeing, you're approving projects and you do not have the funding in place to pay for these projects. And that's one of the reasons why when it comes to the end of the road or the end of the calendar year, we don't have the money to pay for it. So the only source of revenue is tax increases. I've asked several and numerous times that Bulloch County commissioners have open town hall meetings to discuss issues at hand that people are concerned with, to lower the aggravation level. To date, I've heard no open meeting. This meeting here is not an open meeting. It's a one-way communication to the commissioners. And sometimes it gets to be an aggravating or heartburn, agio, as my Italian background says. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cassandra Michael.
David Bennett and I are partnering tonight, so I'll let him speak.
Good evening. Had a nice typed out statement I wanted to give you guys, but really what I want to focus on and try to not belabor this any longer is, I sat through this meeting that the EPD put on last week, 3 hours. It was painful. It was a test of endurance. But as Bill Frechette talked about wells, he mentioned something, and it was profound to me. So at about 2 hours and 19 minutes in the meeting, he was discussing some of these proposed amendments that they have to these permits. And, he said that the expectation is that with increased water needs, he says the expectation is that with increased water needs, they will have to meet, or that will have to be met, these water needs will have to be met with alternative water sources. Eventually, Statesboro and surrounding areas will have to use surface water to meet their needs. So we're talking right now about drilling wells to provide water to Bryan County. Now, I've heard bits and pieces about, we're going to put some water in and provide it to folks in Bulloch County and everything like that. But the EPD, all they talked about was providing water to Bryan County and Hyundai. So as we move forward with this, we know growth is coming to this county. We need to start planning now to increase in that infrastructure. I'm talking about roads, water, fire, EMS, police, hospitals. All of those things need to be worked on now, and we need to be strategic in doing those things. It was scary to me to sit in that meeting because the word I heard again and again and again was, I hope, we hope, we hope, we hope. I spent most of my adult life in the military, got the opportunity to go to some really interesting places and do some really interesting things. And we always talked when we started planning operations, we said, hope is not a method. And I want to tell y'all tonight, hope is not a method. Hope is uncertainty. And hope is dangerous. We need a plan. I'm concerned about the secondary and tertiary effects of providing water to Bryan County and to this Hyundai mega site. We're going to start pumping water to them. And once we start this, it's like that book. If you give a mouse a cookie, it's not going to stop. We're going to pump water. The taxpayers are going to pay to do these studies. They're going to pay for these amendments to fund the wells that have to be repaired. They're going to pay for studies, like Tim Powell said earlier, to figure out alternate sources of water. And ultimately, those wells will pump water to Bryan County. And when the growth comes here and we need more water, we're going to be looking, and again, the taxpayers are going to have to pay for an alternate source of water. The groundwater guru at the EPD, Bill Frechette, said it. We will be looking for surface water in Bulloch County. I'm not against growth. You know, when you have a nice place to live, people want to come there. That's okay. Growth is not a bad thing, but we need a plan for that. And if we're going to put wells in the ground, we need to make sure that we're providing water for Bulloch County, not just for today, but for the next 25 years. My request to y'all is simple. It's twofold. One, with an issue this serious, the citizens of this county deserve to hear from y'all. Next week, you're doing a town hall meeting on transportation. I'd love to see our leadership in this county have a town hall meeting on wells and water before they do anything else. You know, my understanding is that these permits are going to be approved very soon, and that's fine. They can approve them, and they can sit while we figure out what's best for Bulloch County. The other thing that I would ask is, with an issue this complex and where this county is so divided on it, why can't we let the voter have a voice? Why can't we have a referendum specifically addressing the drilling of these wells? You've got the permits, or the permits are coming. That doesn't say you have to drill that day. So let's slow down on this, and let's figure out what's going on. The fact that Hyundai and the state made a plan and said, we're going to start now, and we're going to build these wells, or build this plant, doesn't mean that we should rush to meet their needs. Thank you for your time.
Sir, can I have your name?
David Bennett.
Okay. And Brian Funn.
Good evening, Commissioners. Chairman Thompson. I was going to ask some questions about a flyer that everybody got in the mail just prior to the well meeting, and I just have some concerns with it, but I'm gonna save that for another time, or maybe I can actually get a couple of you commissioners to give me a call during the week or something, and we can talk about it, and we don't have to do it up here, but I had to change up because what Lawton said, you know, I've been upset about rezoning, and I've been upset about, you know, the wells, just like everybody else, and I've probably hurt some feelings, and if so, I'm sorry. But the thing that's going on with Mr. Sackwood Lawton, with freedom of speech, like, there's veterans in here. You know, we took an oath to defend the Constitution, an oath to defend the freedom of speech. And when we got out, we didn't rescind our oath. We took an oath. I took an oath. So, like, the First Amendment, like, that means a lot. And sometimes you got to fight. And what do you have? You have your voice. Sometimes dumb luck works out too for you. But back to this, and I'll share this because Lawton already shared it. I got the police report. I read everything from that meeting. But what I also got was a copy of that videotape, or that audio tape. And about the last 2 minutes of it, I clipped off. And I sent the raw file to a guy that I known him for about 25 years. He worked signal intelligence for special operations. He's a freelancer now. He's a forensic audio specialist. And he's basically pulled that audio tape apart. I'm going to tell you, gentlemen, what's on that police report is not what's on that tape. I'm just telling you right now. So I'm giving you a heads up on that. That's all I got, just freedom of speech. And that tape don't sound good. They got 4 individuals, 2 distinct conversations. male and female and 2 males. And what's written on the police report is about 90% debunked by what you hear on that tape. And I will, when it's cleaned up even more, Lawton Sack will have a copy of it. And he will play it at the magistrate. And it's not going to look good. So thank you for your time, Commissioners. I don't have anything else.
That's it.
Thank each one of you for speaking tonight. And now we are out of public comments, and we're going to move to staff comments. Any staff members have any comments to make? Hearing none. Commissioner?
Mr. Chairman, I might make one comment.
Yes, sir.
And I just wanted to point out, because this keeps coming up, several people, say from time to time that we should have a referendum on this issue or that issue. But there's no lawful way to have a referendum unless there's a specific provision for it in the code. In other words, the commissioners can't just say, well, we don't want to make a decision on this issue without a referendum. They're really not allowed to do that. It's called a straw poll, and it's basically an unauthorized delegation of their legislative authority. So I just wanted to point that out because, it seems to keep coming up, and there are, obviously certain referenda that they are authorized to call, like sales tax referenda, and things like that. But just to have a referendum on a particular issue without the legislative authority to do so, they can't do that.
Thank you.
I also, real quick, just wanted to remind everybody of the budget retreat Monday and Tuesday starting at 8:30 at the Bishop Fieldhouse at Georgia Southern. It is an open meeting, so if any citizens would like to attend, you are more than welcome. So we'll see you all then.
Any additional staff?
Maybe I'll make one.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to take the opportunity to address what we're doing with the EPD conditions that Mr. Powell referenced. We're actively working with Georgia Southern University right now. They have a public service unit. It's called the Institute of Water and Health. It's been in place for maybe 2 to 3 years, but they have faculty members and staff and others who are actually doing useful water-related research in coastal Georgia. And what we have asked them to do, we've asked them to help us put together a scope of work that would include a plan and a framework for well mitigation, education and outreach, and maybe even program management. And we think part of that framework can include trying to find all of the unpermitted wells. It would take some research. It would take a little bit of claims management and adjusting to use in insurance talk. But Bulloch and Bryan County has every intent of trying to fund legitimate claims. I think it'd be premature to disclose industry parties that we're contacting, because we don't want to spend local taxpayer money either. We didn't create this. Our job is to responsibly manage it. I also think I'll conclude that part by saying I think we're going down a good path with Georgia Southern. I think their organization has the bones to help us put this together and do it the right way, and also based on the science and the need. Now, with regard to the 25-year alternative water supply, personally, I think we need to find a solution way before 25 years. I think EPD perhaps was gracious in trying to give us 25 years because they know as well as I do that funding will be an issue. Again, I may not be around here in 25 years, which a lot of you who make disparaging comments about me would be pleased to hear that. But despite your traducements, I would say that the goal really is we've got to look at this as a regional or a sub-state issue. The Kona Depression in Hilton Head isn't going away. Well, maybe a multi-state issue, because quite frankly, Georgia has to work very carefully with South Carolina in water management and taking care of the aquifer. And it may not be surface water. Surface water coming from the Savannah River could be very expensive. The Ogeechee River doesn't really have the flow, in my opinion, to provide a surface water source. But I view this in the bigger picture, something equivalent, even though it's not economic development related, is the dredging of the Savannah Harbor that took at least a decade of cobbling together state and federal funds to try to get that done. So I don't think there's any expectation that Bulloch and Bryan is going to carry the load in trying to get surface water or additional groundwater. It's a regional issue, and it may cut across regions. But we need to talk about it a heck of a lot sooner than waiting around to the 24th year and figuring out what we're going to do. And even with the well mitigation plan, my ambition is to seek some funding from the governor's emergency fund. I'm hopeful that the governor would be able to help fund our efforts to work with Georgia Southern to put a plan and a framework together for well mitigation. And I think, Commissioner Rushing, you had told me, which I wasn't aware of myself, that the health department didn't start permitting wells until 2011. And that's evidenced in some research that the South Georgia Regional Commission did on well locations, whether they're ag wells or personal wells. But I can't speak for the 25-year framework except for what I've already spoken about. But I have a lot of confidence that we're going to be able to deal with the well mitigation project and developing a well mitigation fund that doesn't affect taxpayers' pockets. And Bryan County is working as actively on that as we are. Again, the other issue, that's a regional problem, and that's big money that I think the state and the federal government will realize that nobody locally or regionally has. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, thank you. Any other staff? Then hearing none, I will ask for commissioner comments.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say some stuff that Mr. Couch and Mr. Powell, just to touch base on some of them things. I hadn't got it all right here in front of me. Bulloch County Health Department did start permitting wells in 2011. Blessed I remember, you can call the health department, Marlin or Miriam, either one can relate that to anybody. And as far as Mr. Powell said a while ago, as far as the mitigation fund, as far as the wells that aren't permitted, now we discussing it, there ain't anything cast in stone because this is all still up in the air. But just like planning and zoning, when it come into Bulloch County, when it passed, just if the well mitigation fund is all put together, then I feel sure that we've been looking at things like if your well isn't permitted, well, it's going to take a certain amount of time for this to come up. It'd be full 6.5 million gallons. So I'm just throwing some numbers out there, say a 12-month grace period to get the health department to come out and permit your well. If you in the Kona Depression, in the 5 mile or whatever they put the mitigation fund on. Then if you got a fully functional well and your well is affected, then you'll be able to enact your rights to the well mitigation fund. Now, I'm just saying that didn't cast in stone, but we are talking about it. And I've heard over and over again, well, y'all just being silent, y'all hiding stuff from us. And just like, well, the county hadn't had a open house meeting on the EPD. And I don't know how many times I got to say this sitting in this seat. We can't tell you what we don't know. Now, we can lie to you and tell you whatever you want to hear, if that's what you want. But as far as when we were sitting at EPD meets, I can tell you, me personally, and I know everyone, we learn things right along with y'all. And I'll bust if I can't say something about this. I don't know how many have been following the House. Is it right, House Bill 1146, Jeff? Is that it? that passed last Friday?
Yeah.
All right, well, just because I guess I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, I'm gonna dumb it way down for you. It was introduced, and I didn't know anything about it. Somebody called me, and it was somebody against the wells, and told me, and matter of fact, I had several people coming. That House bill was introduced last week, and it passed last Friday. And what it means is, if we don't get together with Bryan County, and there's gonna be a certain point of time that the commissioners from Bryan County is gonna have to cut off when they feel like that they got to protect their taxpayers, and they can't give more without costing them money, and we're gonna try to get all we can get without costing our taxpayers money, and get all we can get. But at the end of the day, if we don't get together, the state of Georgia's gonna dig them wells. And you can check on House Bill 1146 if you want to. I'm not lying to you. It's there, gone. So, like I told everybody 2 or 3 meetings ago, they don't need us. And it's fact now. It's fact. Go check it. They don't need us. The water is going to come out of Bulloch County. The only choice this commission up here has got to make now is whether we going to get paid for the water or they going to get it for free. Now, that's it in a nutshell. We can't do nothing about it. I mean, we physically can't do nothing about it. It's above our heads. And I know I probably disappointed some people, but I hope that information was helpful. And if you want to check it out and see and correct me where I'm wrong, but that's what I've been told. But I have been wrong before. But I just wanted to say that and to let y'all know that we are trying to protect the people that's got wells. We know these people's got wells that's not permitted, and we understand that people's on fixed incomes. We understand every bit of that. Matter of fact, I got some wells down there the same way. So I hope that helped out some.
Anyone else?
With the conversation too, Mr. Tim, I hope everybody's picking on you tonight, but the other two, they stole my thunder. So, but with that too, as far as the retribution and all that stuff for the wells, if your wells goes dry or your pump goes dry, we're gonna lower it. That has been discussed in pretty extensively. They give us guidelines to go by with it. It's us to fill in the smaller details. That's where, like, let me run an example by you that we used that I kind of got, DPD kind of said, well, that's in your department. You got to handle that. We talked about if a water well went out, one of these big pivot wells went out and you couldn't water his crops and you in the middle of a drought and, yada, yada, who's going to pay for the cost of the crop, the loss for every day of poundage you're going to lose on your crop because you're not watering. And they basically said that's y'all's job to handle that. So that's how far the conversations has already been going. And we're doing all this without using taxpayer dollars. We are keeping it. That's been from all this commission and me too up front. That was the stipulation on it to get go. That we got to figure out how to make it pay for itself. And we are working on it. And I just didn't want to go away without saying that. And I appreciate your input.
And I would like to say, Mr. Fowler, singing you out, you asked the questions. I was just addressing you because you're the one that brought it up.
Anyone else?
Just to kind of summarize it, the well situation is here, and it's our responsibility to manage it moving forward. We're gonna handle it just like the other commissioners have stated. And Mr. Emily, I think most all the other commissioners were at the EPD meeting, but that was brought on by the public outcry for information. So just like Commissioner Rushing was saying, that was informational. So we didn't have anything to do with being a part of that meeting. So that was from public outcry, which I'm certainly glad that meeting was held, because I've gotten a lot more knowledge on the aquifer between that meeting and then I believe Dr. Reichert's presentation a couple of weeks prior to that. It pointed out a lot of good information about red zone, yellow zone, and green zone. And EPD put those zones in place because of Savannah from 1998. And since doing that, that measure has been able to raise that cone of depression in the Savannah area, which is going to help the whole area. But it's put guidelines in place for what we're having to deal with now and moving forward. But I'll be glad to talk to you more. Just give me a call. You got my cell number.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good.
Yes.
One more staff comment?
Yes, sir.
And I won't be long, but I guess it's important, since there was civil discourse tonight, that I think it's worthwhile to address Mr. Bennett's concerns as well. And you have to be assured that the county commission is right now making great investments in trying to do just kind of plans that you're talking about. Transportation, comprehensive, which includes land use. Utility plans, we're trying to work with the city of Statesboro on doing some joint utility projects. We're doing a master facilities plan that has a 10-year time horizon. We're doing a internal workforce study that's concomitant with a master facilities plan. We're looking at our existing facilities and our future facilities are going to need, whether it's a fire station, a standalone elections building, a jail pod, a new judicial annex. We know all these things are coming, and while there are often complaints, I think often unjustified, about the cost of some of these facilities, you can't operate the government in the vacuum, and you can't do all of this planning in a vacuum. So I would argue that the county commissioners are very aggressively putting all these plans together for a community that's probably about 85,000 people now and plan to be 100 in the not too distant future. And I do believe they're doing it as responsibly as possible. We're going as fast as we can possibly go in a situation where no one imagined that you would have a major auto plant and all of its suppliers up and going in about 2 years. You know, if you really want to look at big impact, imagine being up around Detroit where you got the big three and you've got nothing but auto factories. Although it's true, many have left, many have downsized. But I think all of this is manageable locally and regionally, and we're working faster on plans than I've seen any time in my career, even having worked in a metro area. So it's fast-paced, but it's not so fast that stupid decisions are going to be made, regardless of who agrees with them or not. But I just wanted to assure to Mr. Bennett, we are actively working on many, many plans that we have to make seamless when they're done. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else? I'll close it by saying this. I'm not the smartest man in this room, by no means, but I'm going to listen to suggestions, ideas to those that are much smarter than I am. And I'm going to tell you some of those folks that are much smarter than I am or anybody in this room, and I'm going to take their advice. I think it's been taken out of our hands already, but you have professional geologists. That's what they do, is make a living, figuring out where the water's going and where it's coming from. I have to listen to them, me personally. These fellas can listen to who they want to. You can listen to who you want to. So I guess we're going to move ahead. And I do appreciate, again, each one of y'all being here tonight. Going to remind you of something. We're going to call for an executive session in just a few minutes. I would certainly appreciate your filing out of here in an orderly manner. And what we're going to do No, I'll change that. What I'm going to do is give you about 3 minutes, and we'll put it up here. 3 minutes to clear the room. That doesn't mean come up here and talk or anything like that. That means to leave. Because this is when we talk about certain things. And so, having said all of that, then I'm compelled to read this next paragraph. It says, I must now call for a motion to adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provisions of OCGA 50-14-3B1B and other applicable laws pursuant to the advice of County Attorney Jeff Akins for the purpose of discussing real estate and personnel. And after having said that, I need a motion to go into executive.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? Unanimous approval? Show of hands. We are now into executive session.